Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, but no one seems to notice? You show up, you deliver, you give your all, quietly. But at the end of the day, someone else gets the credit. The praise never comes. The doors don't open. And worse, someone with less skill, less effort, less truth, moves ahead of you. Have you ever experienced that? Being ignored. Being seen as just another person. Being treated like you're small, when deep down you know the depth of your commitment. It's a quiet kind of pain. No drama. No outburst. But it eats away at you. It eats away when your voice isn't heard in a meeting. When your idea is brushed off. When you're always put second. And then comes the question that screams inside. Am I not enough? Or do they just not see it? Now, imagine if you could answer that question with strength. Imagine that, when underestimated, you didn't shrink. But you also didn't explode. You simply kept going. Not to prove anything. Not for revenge. But because you know exactly who you are. And you don't need anyone to recognize it in order to keep being it. That's the power the Stoics called inner invulnerability. The strength to keep going even when no one is applauding. And if you can learn to master it, you become unstoppable. Most people think they need to change the world around them to find peace. But the Stoics discovered that real transformation begins within, especially when the world seems against you. That's what happened to Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism. He lost everything in a shipwreck. He was left adrift, no status, no direction, no prestige. And there, at rock bottom, he discovered a radical truth. No one can take your freedom if you master your own mind. Zeno started teaching that in public squares and gave rise to the Stoic school. Centuries later, Epictetus, a slave who couldn't even choose what to eat or wear, became one of history's greatest philosophers. Why? Because even though he was chained on the outside, he was free on the inside. Seneca, advisor to emperors, lived surrounded by political intrigue. He knew he could be discarded at any moment. And yet, he wrote letters and reflections that taught, living with dignity matters more than being accepted by power. Then came Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on the planet, surrounded by flatterers, enemies, and immense responsibilities. And every night he would retreat and write to himself to remember, you don't need anyone's approval. You only need to act with virtue. Stoicism was born from pain. It grew in adversity. And today, it remains the answer for those who want to keep going, even when no one believes in them. When you're underestimated, your first reaction might be hurt pride. You want to scream, prove yourself, throw results in people's faces. But the Stoics saw that reaction as a trap disguised as strength. They knew that reacting in the heat of rejection is easy. What's hard and powerful is responding with virtue. And there are 4 virtues that shield your mind from the poison of being underestimated. Keycap 1. Wisdom. Knowing what's really at stake. Knowing that being ignored doesn't lessen your value. It just reveals the limitation of someone else's vision. Wisdom means seeing beyond wounded ego. It means avoiding empty battles. Keycap 2. Courage. The courage to continue in silence. To persist without recognition. To be yourself, even when no one seems to notice. That's the strength of someone who acts from conviction, not from an audience. Keycap 3. Justice. It's easy to treat people well when they respect you. But virtue shines when you treat with dignity even those who ignore you. Justice is maintaining your integrity, regardless of how others treat you. Keycap 4. Temperance. The ability to control your impulses. To not respond in anger. To not seek revenge. To not become what you condemn. Temperance is knowing when to speak, and the power of silence. When you respond with these virtues, something happens. You stop being vulnerable to other people's opinions. You free yourself from the need to prove. And without realizing it, you become stronger than any silent attack. Because while they're underestimating you, you're building yourself. And that's something no one can stop. Epictetus said something that sounds simple, but it changes everything. Some things are up to us, others are not. Here's the mistake most people make when they're underestimated. They try to change what isn't theirs to control. They want to convince others. They want to be seen. They want to be recognized, validated, respected. But here's the brutal truth. You don't control what people think of you. You don't control whether they notice you. You don't control whether they choose you. And no matter how hard you try, they may never recognize what you've done. Now, what do you control? You control how you respond to that. You control whether you stop or keep going. You control whether you sink trying to prove something, or rise silently by staying true to yourself. The dichotomy of control sets you free when you accept that someone else's gaze doesn't define your worth. But this doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean hiding or giving up. It means you stop wasting energy trying to change what's outside, and start investing everything into what's within. You act with excellence, even when no one claps. You improve, even when no one notices. You keep going, even when everyone doubts you. And do you know what happens with time? The people who once ignored you start paying attention. But by then it doesn't matter anymore, because you've already understood. The value of your journey doesn't depend on other people's reaction. It lives in the consistency of your truth. Amor Fati. This is one of Stoicism's boldest and deepest ideas. It means to love your fate, not merely to accept what happens, but to embrace it as if it were necessary, as if every detail were sent to shape you. Now imagine applying that to being underestimated, ignored, pushed aside. The natural impulse is to reject it, to revolt, to prove everyone wrong. But the Stoic does the opposite. He looks at the contempt and says, maybe I need this to grow. Maybe you need invisibility to strengthen your patience. Maybe you need rejection to discover that your worth isn't in applause. Maybe you need other people's silence so you can finally hear your own voice. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, not to be read. Epictetus taught philosophy to a few, even after being a slave. Seneca spoke of virtue in a Rome that valued only appearance and power. They understood that if fate meant for them to be underestimated, there was something there to be learned. You can look at what's happening in your life, the lack of recognition, the disdain, the indifference, and say, thank you. This is making me stronger. Loving fate isn't resignation. It's using fate as raw material to refine yourself, and that's something no one can take away. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome, the most powerful figure of his time, and yet he was underestimated. Some generals saw him as weak because he preferred books to brutality. Senators called him naive for trying to rule with virtue. Political enemies said he was too thoughtful to command an empire at war. He was betrayed by allies, challenged in his own palace, unjustly accused, even after giving everything for Rome. But he never defended himself in public, never attacked in return, never made speeches to glorify himself. Instead he wrote. In the silence of night, with the world collapsing around him, Marcus Aurelius sat and wrote for himself. No audience, no ambition for fame, no wish to be understood. He wrote to remember. It doesn't matter what they say, it matters who I am. I can't control injustice, but I can act justly. Other people's opinions don't shape my soul, my actions do. Those notes, which we now call meditations, weren't meant for the world. They were meant to help him endure, to keep his priorities clear, to go on when everything around him said, you're not enough. Maybe you need to do the same. Stop trying to convince, stop trying to be seen, and start writing, living, acting for yourself. Want to know how far you've really grown? Watch how you act when no one is watching, when no one praises you, when no one recognizes you. That's where the Stoic invisible training begins. Stoic journaling. Take a notebook, nothing digital, nothing public, and write every day. Who ignored me today? Was my reaction prideful or balanced? What can I improve even when no one is watching? This isn't venting, it's self-observation, building an inner mirror so you don't rely on other people's reflections. Negative visualization. Close your eyes for 2 minutes. Imagine producing your best work and being completely ignored. No praise, no likes, no feedback. Ask yourself, if that happens, would I still do it all again? If the answer is yes, you're stronger than you think. If it's no good, you've found what needs work. Memento Mori. Remember, you will die, and so will the people whose opinions you fear. The applause fades, the criticism evaporates, but what you build inside lasts until your final day. These 3 exercises won't make you famous or put you in the spotlight, but they will give you peace. And that peace, being true to what you believe even without an audience, is the greatest prize a Stoic can earn. You don't need to travel back to ancient Rome to see Stoicism in action. Today, in silence, people live these principles and succeed. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school team. Told he wasn't good enough, he trained every day in silence until the world noticed. J.K. Rowling was rejected by dozens of publishers, but kept writing because she knew she had something real inside her. Vinicius Jr. was mocked and ignored by European media, yet he stayed focused, answered with performance, and became one of the most decisive players in the world. They were all overlooked, all doubted, yet they kept going. Not for vanity or trophies, but because they believed their work spoke louder than any premature judgment. This is modern Stoicism. Living with focus, strength, and virtue, even in anonymity. Letting time, not applause, reveal who you truly are. When someone underestimates you, a voice inside starts screaming. One day they'll see. One day I'll prove everyone wrong. That voice feels like strength, but it's actually a wounded ego setting a trap. Revenge is seductive. It makes you dream of the day everyone will stand and applaud. But here's the problem. When you live to get even, you're still tied to the ones who hurt you. You're still reacting, not acting. The Stoics understood this. They taught that revenge is a prison disguised as justice. It's trying to find freedom in the same place that once chained you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemies. Because if you respond to contempt with hatred, vanity, or the need to show off, you disconnect from your true self. You trade growth for performance. True victory isn't being applauded by those who once ignored you. It's reaching the point where you no longer need it. You're not here to silence anyone. You're here to build something real. Something that doesn't depend on an audience, revenge, or validation. Don't waste your energy trying to impress those who didn't see you. Invest everything in becoming someone who doesn't need to be seen to be at peace. You've made it this far. You've heard the ideas. You've learned the stories. You've reflected on your own journey. But now it's time to test what truly stayed with you, in practice. So here are 3 Stoic challenges. Simple, but deep. Uncomfortable, but transformational. Keycap 1. The Silence Challenge. For the next 24 hours, don't respond to any criticism. Don't justify yourself. Don't try to prove you're right. Endure the disregard with dignity. Observe. Breathe. Stay focused on who you want to become, not on what others expect you to prove. Keycap 2. The No Validation Challenge. Today, create something. An idea, a message, a task, an action. Give it your best without telling anyone. Don't post it. Don't look for likes. Don't seek approval. Just do it and move on. This is the practice of those who act with purpose, not for applause. Keycap 3. The Inner Forgiveness Challenge. Think of someone who ignored you, underestimated you, treated you as less, and say to yourself, I release you. I'm not carrying this anymore. Because forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you to walk lighter. Traduza esse texto para inglês de forma que nativo entenda com facilidade. These 3 challenges will show you that being underestimated doesn't weaken you. What weakens you is needing to be seen at any cost. But when you practice invisibility with virtue, you start becoming visible to yourself. And that's the vision that truly matters. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. True freedom is no longer needing to be seen in order to feel whole. You can spend your whole life chasing recognition. You can burn energy trying to be noticed, praised, validated, and maybe you'll succeed. But eventually you'll realize that kind of recognition is never enough. Because those who live for applause die in silence. The Stoics didn't seek the spotlight. They sought integrity. They sought consistency. They sought peace of mind. And peace doesn't come from the outside. Peace comes when you look in the mirror and know, today I was who I needed to be, even if no one saw, even if no one said a word. Marcus Aurelius ruled empires, but his greatest battle was against vanity, against the ego that wanted to be loved, celebrated, respected. And every night, he returned to the simplicity of what mattered. Act with virtue, nothing else. So here's the invitation. Live with excellence, even in anonymity. Continue with discipline, even without witnesses. Be loyal to your values, even if no one applauds. Because when you learn to walk alone in peace, nothing holds you back, nothing is missing. And finally, you are free.